And that comes through.
Yeah. So why did you want to write this, Jim?
From the moment I came to Christ, I was led to Christ by Godfrey Taylor. His wife is sat right here, in his study in 1995. And then I would sit with him for an hour and a half a week, and for I would call my remedial Christian sessions, and he would teach me what it is to be a disciple of Christ. He was helping me understand what I'd become by submitting to the Lordship of Christ. And I couldn't have him in my pocket all my life. He wasn't a tall fella, but I still couldn't have had him in my pocket all my life. And I've wrestled, especially since becoming a minister of the gospel. How do I convey to the people who are in front of me? And the extent to which I've succeeded in that. There's people here from St. Paul's. There's people here from St. Mark's, Salisbury, and St. Andrew's, Laverstock will testify to the extent to which I've wrestled and fallen short maybe in trying to do that. But wrestle with the idea of what does it mean to be a follower of Jesus Christ, and how do I encourage the people in the churches that I'm leading to be a follower of Jesus Christ? How do I get people to get what it is to be a disciple? And that one verse, there's one verse in the first letter of John, chapter 2 and verse 6. That one verse, whoever claims to live in him must walk as Jesus did, which is in summary everything that Godfrey said to me. You've got to walk like Jesus did. And I've tried to stick to that, but I've always wrestled with how to communicate that. And when I landed here at St. Paul's, what was it, 8 years ago, 2017, I really was thinking about, I'm in a new church. What's the vision I'm going to lay before people about where we're going? How are we going to be as the people of God in this place? And that verse was at the forefront of my mind. And I spent some time in preaching series tickling around this whole issue. And one day I was in a car, driving along in a car, being driven in a car by a guy, this one, Reverend Chris Dodgson, and we were talking about this whole idea of walking as Jesus did. And he said, Jim, it's no good just having a preaching series and visiting it once. You've got to write this down and then put it into the hands of the church. You've got to put this in people's hands so they can have a record of what you're saying, so they can have something that encourages them to be like that all the time. And so it's his fault that you might be spending 15 quid on a book tonight, because he's the one who nudged me in that direction. But it's the wrestle of, if we're Christian, we can't be the same as we were before. And I know for a fact that when you meet with Jesus, it changes you, because I know for a fact that I'm different to what I was before I met Jesus. He's transformed my life so remarkably. And how do we live then to show that Jesus has made a difference? And this book is my attempt to say, this is how we can live. And it's about imitating Jesus. Whoever claims to live in him must walk as he did. Or be imitators of God, therefore, as Paul says in Ephesians 5. It's the business of imitation, but imitating Jesus. That's what this book is about. That's what I want people to get. That's what I want us to be about as we live out our call to be disciples of Jesus Christ.